welcome to Inner Geekdom, and it's Anime Hour. Today we have a treat for y'all. Today we are introducing our new co-host, Dawn. So,
Hello, hello.
go ahead and introduce yourself, what socials you got, where people can find you, what you're about, and see what we got.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you all. I'm, as you said, Don. I have exactly 0 socials. You'll have to give me a second on that. I'm going to have to set everything up. Still getting used to all this. But it's a pleasure to be here, and I can't wait to talk some geeky greatness with you today.
Speaking of which, today we are talking about light novels and anime recommendations. So, just like the last couple weeks, we're going to go back and forth with our top 5. And so you can learn a little bit more about what our taste is and what we're into. Maybe we can get some suggestions from y'all, and we'll check it out. So,
Good.
We will start off with your number 5 for light novel. What you got?
I would say it's one I'm kind of reading right now. It's still ongoing. It's Tribulation of Myriad Races. It's on a place called Wuxia World, the place where you get most of those, Chinese novels. They're all like by the chapter. It's got about, I have it written down here, 548 chapters. I am currently up to date on the extra. They have like a little premium tier for some extra chapters, and it's so good. I had to buy in.
Yeah, so 500 chapters is a pretty early released light novel in all retrospect, usually about a little before halfway through an average series or maybe a quarter depending on which one it is. What's it about? What's going on in it?
Well, it's about, so, Earth is here. We got Earth. But one day, like hundreds of years back, a big ass rift opened up, and other races, the myriad races, just started flowing in, and Earth became a prime battle zone for all these other races. So you have like the dragon race, demon race, divine race, different types of mythical creatures as a full-on race in and of themselves. And the reason they all are invading Earth, it seems, is because they're not suppressed. So, like any normal cultivation world, where someone, say, ascends up higher and they go to a new world, they're suppressed. The power they can output is lowered. But for some reason, Earth is exempt from this. So everybody tries to rush in and steal our land, essentially. And the main character, he has, see a little tail back here? The main character, he has been having nightmares ever since he was a kid. Aww. And these nightmares are him getting killed by these myriad races. One day it would be like a blood-winged falcon, another day it would be something different. And he's just getting constantly going through this cycle of death until one day he stumbles upon basically this world's power system. And he was trained to be a physical cultivator, someone who uses their, body, but they're mental cultivators. And when he discovers he can basically has a knack for mental cultivation, that's when the dreams stop. And the book inside of his mind opens up. And that's what's been killing him. We assume. Still, it's still 500, it's still going on. So more things could be revealed. But using the book and all the races that have killed him so far, as long as he intakes some of their blood essence, which is basically just a shot of them, get some of their blood, he can reproduce their powers. Using this, he begins his ascent through the myriad races. What do you think?
It sounds familiar, actually. I think I might have started reading it. I'm pretty sure there is. There is a manga on it. You did not
really?
know. Yes, I will send you the link for it after this. But I remember that premise of dying in his sleep and changing his way of cultivation. As soon as you said that, it popped in my head. So I will have to send you the manga link for it later. But
Mhm.
I did read that and I did enjoy it. From what I've read, it is really good. It's kind of your cut and dry one, nothing groundbreaking, but it has a solid story. The flow is nice, and there's a nice like cut of humor in it, from what I remember. So I would
And
definitely have to check out the light novel of it. I did not know it was light novel prior. I'd only read the manga for it.
I
That
will
is going
say
on my to read list.
that I will say the reason I like it so much, even from the outset of it being like, a basic power fantasy weak to strong uh Chinese cultivation, is the humor. I love the humor and the wit of this story. Because as it goes on, he'll go on to, get a little bit stronger, and he'll be going on to basically the college of that world, the, big school arc where everybody gets acquainted with new characters and people start making moves. The hilarity and the using of the rules essentially to, like, smack someone's face with the rules, it just tickles my fancy so much, and it makes me laugh so consistently, because I'm usually not one for the bog standard. He just fights someone stronger, ridicules them, gets goes on. It has a really good setup for why things are the way they are, why he's going through these tribulations, why he eventually joins a faction. I won't say which one, but it is being suppressed, and he wants to know why. You'll eventually find out, and it'll be like, man, I understand why, but I just wish things were different. And it's like this touch of Rage Against the Machine, I guess you would say. And I really dig that. So tell me what you think later.
Is he definitely going to have to check it out because I only read the beginning of it.
Oh
But
yeah.
with that, we'll go to my number five is I Shall Seal the Heavens. There is 1,614 chapters. It is completed. Um, this kid, he wants to be a scholar. He's an orphaned kid, and he keeps taking the test and taking the test, and he keeps failing. After one day he fails the imperial exam again, he gets kidnapped by this attractive beauty in the sky and taken to a sect where he's forced to learn cultivation. And it is a doobie like die world. You either step on those below you or you get stepped on. And it is not a smooth cultivation progression for him. Every bump and curve you can get, it happens. But it shows how he overcomes all those problems because he's not strong right off the bat. He's not. But then you find out where his lineage comes from, and his parents are actually part of this big clan, and they have to give him up because he had a defect that no one knew about. So it shows how he gets over that defect, becomes a better person, goes a little crazy for a bit, breaks a few hearts. But at the end of the day, he accomplishes everything he wants. There are so many twists and turns in this series, so many plot twists that you just don't see coming. But he does something similar like they do in One Piece, where they'll reference something from 300 chapters ago and it makes it relevant and say, oh, okay, that's what's going on. That's why that was happening. That's why that hidden fucking tribe was hunted down to their last members. And it is just a thrill of a read. So I definitely recommend it. All the ones that I will be recommending, you can read on Read Novel Full. It's a great website to check out a lot of these Chinese, Korean light novels that are really good, really nicely translated. So definitely
Actually,
give it a try. What do you think?
I actually have read I Shall Shield the Heavens before. I kind of stopped around, I won't give anything away, but he was under the sea, let's say. And now it makes me really want to go back and, like, restart it from the beginning. Because
Yes, I
honestly, mhm,
go ahead.
uh one of the parts that really got to me. He eventually does. I'll spoil a little bit for you. So he gets a puppy. He gets a giant puppy. And
Oh
that dog,
yeah, I
yeah,
forgot about that one. Yeah,
hmm let's just say things happen, and that dog.
yeah.
Mm,
I
we
definitely recommend it. It's
love it.
not your average cultivation one. There are a lot of
Mhm.
twists and turns, and the way that they have their cultivation structure, yeah, it's called the same things, but the way you go about each of the different levels is vastly different from a lot of the other cultivation light novels or manga.
I'm pretty sure that person, the author's name is Ergin, and I love the way he does his fights. I love the way he does the big bombastic, the scale of everything. You can really feel like the cultivation. Sometimes like a box standard one, a guy will go up one tier and it'll be like, what changed?
Yeah.
He just got another name. In those stories, and some of mine that I'm about to recommend, really make you feel the scale in the world that you're in.
Yeah, so I highly recommend it. I recommend for you to reread it. It's really good now that it's completely finished. It's a good sit down read to coast through it.
The name is
And once again, the website that I suggested, it's free. So you don't have to pay for chapters. So let's go on to your number 4 on that note, though.
all right. Is my number. My number 4 is Mother of Learning. Yes. Now, if you've ever, I can give it very succinctly. What is Groundhog's Day meets Harry Potter? That's it. It's you wake up. Yep, you wake. The main character, he wakes up and he's greeted by his sister, his little sister. Jumping on him, waking him up.
That's right.
You know, getting kind of blindsided, kind of groggy. And I will say, the first there are 4 books out, and it covers 4 arcs. It was from originally Royal Road, the chapter by chapter publishing website, and they've been all condensed and are on Amazon Kindle for you to pick up. If you get the subscription, I'm pretty sure it's free. Sadly, we don't have any plugs. But I will say, over about the first half of the arc is a little slow because it needs to set up for when, to minor spoilers, the Hogwarts Academy gets attacked, and he sees them just get blindsided, and they have no idea what these dark sorcerers are doing. And then he dies in ReZero style, wakes back up, big brother, restarts that again. And so it's more of his journey, learning, okay, how this magic system in this world works. It uses, say, reagents and different very crunchy mechanics of this world, and he just has to dive into it in about a month or so time span. And you would think that's not a lot of time, right? To like learn and basically prepare for a full on assault by a high level academy. That's just how many runs he has to eventually go through. And I won't say how many in total, but it is not in the single digits, my friends. He will blog, he will scheme, and he makes friends that somehow last through different runs. And sometimes he just has to run. I won't say why, because it's a Groundhog's Day. He just restarts, but you
Definitely sounds interesting. I wasn't a fan of ReZero. I think it
I'll
was a
say
little over the top. So, but that's not interesting. I might give it a couple chapter read, but I have never heard of that one myself. So, really weird because I know a bunch of these other ones that we're going to talk about. Yeah,
hey,
I'm
well,
definitely going to add it on my checking out list. But yeah, I've never heard of this one.
actually, the way I found it was I was cruising through Reddit looking for a new story because my number 1 spot I just caught up at the time, and they were like, "Hey," and I didn't have much money, and I and up to date chapters were already moved over to Kindle, because the way that usually works is once you bought by Kindle, you can't really like sell it anywhere else. You can't just give it
Mhm.
away for free. But he had the the original story was on a different site of fanfiction.net for the original
Ooh.
story. And I was like, I don't know. And someone's in the comments like, no, no, no. If you like this story, give this a shot. And I was like, okay. And I swear to you, my friend, it was the quickest pickup and read I may have ever had. It was just
I'll definitely have to check
get
it
in
out.
there.
So we'll go with my number 4, which is Battle Through the Heavens, which is 1,648 chapters. It is also finished. This one, this guy is reincarnated into this fantasy world. It mentions it in the first chapter, and never again. It drops it like he just forgot about it, which is good because it's kind of a repetitive trend. Oh, back in my other world, blah blah. Doesn't mention it ever again. But in this world, you have alchemists. Like the number one profession is to be an alchemist, but there's very strict criteria for that. You have to have the spirituality of fire and air to be able to be an alchemist. You got to control the flame. And our main character just happens to have that characteristic, but he doesn't know it. All he knows is he was a prodigy growing up, being a martial arts prodigy, and then one day, all of his strength just disappeared. It turns out the necklace his mother had given him was taking away his strength to be reviving a spirit alchemist that is stuck inside the ring. And it shows what he does once he gets his powers back or his strength back and he learns to be an alchemist, and he goes through all these trials of a divorce, of his childhood sweetheart getting together with him, and just battle after battle, meeting new characters from snake people to mummies to all these ancient clans and stuff like that. And what's really nice about this series and for the next 2 series that I'm going to be talking about, they're all by the same author and they're all in the same universe. Might not be in the same timeline or might be in parallel universes of the same universe, but at the end of it, they all connect. There's references to each other in all of them. And at the end of it, one main character will meet another main character and they branch off into a new book where all of them are together. And so if you really like those multi-angle worlds where everything's connected and trying to find all those little like cue points of things being connected, it's definitely a good series for you. And there is a manga for it as well if people are into that.
And there's also a Donghua for it, Chinese animation.
Yes, we were talking about that before. There is.
Oh, sweet. I love when he was talking about divorces and things. That's called the 3-year promise, which is
Yes.
the inciting incident. That is perfectly animated, and it is all, I will warn you now, 3D CG.
It is a little rough.
I don't know. By that time, I mean, I watched the first season, kind of let it simmer. Only came back for the 3-year promise. That animation, I think they found the groove. They really like stepped up from at least the first season to where it is. I really
well. When we talk about our next subject about animes we're going to recommend, there is one like that on there as well. So we'll cover that a later aspect. But for those who haven't seen that or know what we're talking about, if you've ever seen Kingdom, it's very similar to how Kingdom was animated. I know there's certain people who really don't like that. The manga was great, the anime was very subpar in a bunch of our opinions. But for some of them, they did really well with that style of animation for the flow of that series. So we can go with your number 3.
My number three now has finally a great manga that I can all recommend to you all. It is called Overgear. It is, imagine if SAO worked out, essentially, is best I can say. So the main character, I'll use his the novel name, Grid, is he's a gamer like you and me, but he's kind of shit at it. Very shit at it. He is just working away, and essentially he's worked his entire life up to this point. He didn't go to college, and this is a Korean novel. He basically just worked, and all the money he made straight back into the game. And you're gonna need some heavy duty full dive hardware for this. This isn't the whole like put on a little face mask and you'll transport it out to the VR world. No, this is go somewhere, sit down in a big pod, and that costs money. And
Yep.
he was just not making it
Yep.
because
it's not just the pod that costs money. There's the subscription to play the game that costs money as well. So, but on the opposite of that, you earn money by playing that game.
Yeah, they have a really fun. It's kind of a throwaway explanation, but they do explain how you can like convert straight.
Gold.
You can gold in story to gold to money in the real world.
Yeah, so it's the gold to one is the currency that they use.
And in this Grid, he finally breaks even because he may not be a great gamer, but at least he can talk. And the NPCs in this, let's just say at the beginning of the story, there is ongoing conversations whether or not they can literally be classified as virtual people, as in given full rights because of how good the AI and system in this world is. Like people have full-on relationships with these NPC characters and they respond in kind. They're very human-like and for all intents and purposes are. So he charms a high-level NPC and they give him a quest, and he is just woefully outclassed. But he's on that grind, so he just sinks more money into it until he finally completes the quest for what's in that world called a legendary class change item. Allows him to change his class in game to a blacksmith. But sad to say, he didn't really charm the NPC. The NPC knew he was trash and knew he could get rid of him like that. But just to stick it to him as he was dying, NPC, the main character, MC Grid, takes the class change item and becomes the world's first, not for long though, legendary class player. From there, he goes on a journey of blacksmithing and becoming overgeared. So what if he doesn't have all the skills, the reaction time that a normal pro top player has? He has items. He has the best items that he's taken time, and especially early in the story, I love the time and dedication it takes for how he meticulously crafts his items. It's like watching a real blacksmith work because that's how realistic this game is. And how
with the exception of he gets a lot of his items himself. Yeah. You do need to add that because a lot of blacksmiths, when people think of blacksmith, people think, oh, people bring me the materials and I turn that into a product. No, he goes into the high level areas, gets items that people didn't even think existed, and then turns it into gear.
You're right. That type of misconception is partially why some of the, say, admins or other players just look down on him because they believe he would just, find a big guild and just be their work monkey, essentially, get paid to make items. But no, he goes out on his own. And that's another thing I really like the story.
It's just, I read it a while ago. I never finished it. So I got to the part where he made that one guild fall apart or disband, and he had started his own guild. That's where I kind of stopped. But it's definitely on my list to finish. It is still on my read later list.
I will say I'm pretty sure the same, I want to say art studio that did. Call me if I'm wrong, but it's the same art studio that did Solo Leveling. They're doing the art for the Overgeared manga. So I highly recommend, if that's where you stopped at, jump over into the manga and just read up to where it is and then dive full head straight into the novel because it gets so fucking good. You'll see, and I will preface this, that in the first couple of chapters before the big disband, makes that guild disband, he is a bit of an asshole.
Oh, he's a dick.
Oh yeah. This is, but
he's very full of himself.
If you do stick it out, he does check himself. He does be like, I'm an asshole. I'm a piece of shit. What? Why have you guys been following me? And they say because we believe you can do better, and he does.
I'm pretty sure it's about that time when he makes another group disband. He realizes that he just made a group who put their blood, sweat, and tears into making this guild across other different games, not just that specific one. Disband on a whim that he thought he was better than everybody else, and that was, in my eyes, a big reality check for him. So, speaking of reality checks, for my third one, Wudong Quan-kun, which has 1,309 chapters, also finished. He gets a reality check a couple times too. His big thing is there's these special, I want to call them runes, but they're kind of like inlined strengths. So one's called the Devour symbol, and it lets you devour everything and turn it into your own power. And this lucky SOB finds it. And he finds it at a very young age, and he can't control it all the way. So he can only use little parts of it at a time. But because he has that, he has to defend Earth, or their version of Earth, from these invading aliens. And these invading aliens just see the people of Earth as like food, pretty much, the sacred race. And but he tries to collect all of the different symbols, because the legend is once you combine or collect and combine them all, you become the strongest on Earth. And this dude does not have the best luck at all. You know what a like vermin is? Like a little rat. So he's followed. Yeah, so he's followed by one that can talk. And it's a demon, technically. It's a demon beast who was hunted down and nearly killed, but transferred his soul into this relic. So very similar to the necklace of the last series that I mentioned. Oh, the authors are the same, so soul gets transferred into there. And Wudong, he finds the relic inside this pond, absorbs the relic into his body, into his spiritual world, and now this vermin has to pretty much train this kid to become strong enough to reconstruct this vermin's body, and it shows them getting bonds like brothers as they grow together, because this demon at the beginning was very cocky, very snooty. So you can call me grandpa. And in the demon monster world, he's about the same age as this kid, like a teenager. But in human standards, he'd be a couple 100 years old. So there's a clash of personalities a little bit. But there's funny parts, there's revenge, there's great fights, very detailed fights too, which is really nice. This kid doesn't get his strength easy. He strikes himself by lightning to gain a stronger body. He eats poisons. They do have a manga for it. It's not as detailed. They do miss out a lot of the side quests that make him stronger. That's why I wanted to put it on my light novel section. Highly recommend it. If you like a really good struggle for power and struggle for revenge, great one to read. So
I will say on the two of the Wudong Queen Kun and Battle Through the Heavens. One, I love the two like juxtaposition because one, they both have a master, and an item that kind of like helps them out. But in Battle Through the Heavens, I really feel the master relationship is like the old proverb that they always say, master for a day, a father for life. And
yes,
that's how they treat it. And then in Wudong, he's his master, yeah, but he's also like
his brother, his
just
best friend.
yeah. They're egging each other on. Once they
Yep.
do get back to like around same power levels, they're gonna like bro out. I do
And
need to read the novel because I didn't know that there was extra stuff because I did
oh,
enjoy
so
the
much extra.
so,
Like almost 200 chapters of extra stuff.
oh sweet, sweet, sweet.
I will definitely send you that information. It is definitely worth your time.
Mhm.
So there you go.
Thank you.
Well, we can go to your next one if you would like. Your number 2.
Yes, my number 2. It is called The Martial Unity. It is on Web Novel. It's a cool little app where you can read just a bunch of great stories. Well, I will say a lot of stories you will have to pick and choose and go through the muck sometimes.
Yeah, and
Because
then the pay thing's kind of annoying unless you do like the daily. You go into daily, get your daily reward, which lets you unlock a free chapter and stuff like that.
yeah, that is a very big killer.
But it is
But
paying for the translators, so it does help the community.
yeah, that is true. That is true. I do like that. I do like that they get direct pay. But on their martial unity. Now you've all seen, I'm sure, your typical isekai setup. Rui, the main character, he lives on Earth and in Earth at this time period. It was a little bit in the future. And basically, what this world revolved around was fighting sports. And I don't just mean like World Wrestling Federation or MMA. I mean basically MMA, but to a higher level. And he was a what's it called?
Researcher.
Yeah, for basically figuring out the best moves and techniques. And he was highly sought after for his intellect on basically how the body moves and his development of the Water Project, which is an algorithm which can look at a fighter and look at their basically the history of all their fights and can tell with a almost 100% certainty what their moves will be. And so he always tried to, at least in this world, our world, make that algorithm something a human can use. And he somewhat did good with it. He got more research grants to flesh out the system. He got more bodies basically to experiment with and more people to train and to anticipate, to read, and help those fighters in their fights. And it worked. But the thing is, he could never simplify it enough because there's too much data for the human brain to process.
Mhm.
And he could never do it himself, which is what he always wanted because he was born with basically diseased lungs. He was always a walk up 2 steps would leave him gasping and grasping for air until finally, when he was working on his project, he just couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't finish that last step and he passed out due to lack of oxygen. Died. That's when he woke up on this new world basically the continent of, it's called Panama. And in this world, they have something called the Marshall Drive. The Marshall Drive is basically your reason for fighting. And this is what I love, because his reason is to bring Project Water to life. And the more you can believe in your Marshall Drive, the more you have a reason to fight. And these reasons can be varied. And yes, if whatever you're thinking of, that reason, just to look cool, to say escapes your family and have them not control you, that can lead to multiple and different varieties of martial art in this world. And in this world, he finally sees a way to bring about Project One. Because when you follow your drive, and it basically does the whole, it doesn't do the whole say you were only using 10% of your brain thing. No, no. It wires your brain to work smoothly towards your drive. And throughout this world and throughout his journey that I really love is him having to weigh his drive against his newfound family in this world. Because he goes through a second puberty. He goes through, he starts from a baby and he goes on. But this isn't like him hiding it. They know he's very smart for his age. But in that world, it happens all the time. He's just a special kid. He wants to start training from like a couple years old. Okay. And he's just at this orphanage and it's filled with love and support for his drive. So when he finally gets out into the world and can do something, he pisses someone he shouldn't piss off, and he does. He has to basically come up to a crossroads. He could run away, leave his family, and run for the rest of his life pursuing his drive and let his family deal with the consequences he made in pursuit of getting stronger. Or he can figure a way out. And so he makes a choice. And whether or not I agree with that choice, but I will say you should read and find out what that is, because it really shows the character and the story potential, because this only has around 500 chapters as well. It's still going, and from where it is at the story, we're nowhere near the end. This world is many, many times bigger than the Earth. And they live in what is essentially a Pangea of the continents, and that is already too small for the humans there. They have something called the Great Wilds. And these wilds are being pushed back by humanity best they can, but that's not going to last. So obviously there's potential there. But yeah, I highly recommend you all to give Rui a read and see his magnificent journey and see the options he takes.
See, on that note, we'll go with my number 2, which is Dragon Prince Yuan. And this one is also by the same author as the last two. So same world, same universe. But this kid, he was born with the power of the ancestral dragon. And the rival country's king did not like that. So he made his wife prolong the births of her children until the same day this kid was born, so that he could steal the dragon and give it to his kids and try to overthrow the neighboring king. But that leaves that kid with a defect that he can't train, open up his principles. And on his birthday, he has to get this ritual done on him that prolongs his life, try to keep him from dying from the lack of principles. And when he's given the news that this is the last one that he can do, or he's going to die, his family tells him why he's like that, what happened, and he goes on his quest of revenge to take back the ancestral dragon for himself, to protect his family, protect his country. So in that king's family, there is a ritual area that no one's been able to activate in, I think it's like 100 years. And he goes over there as a last ditch effort to try to heal himself, to get his principles. And you know what? He can activate it. Teleports him to another world where this old man is just hanging out in a rocking chair with this beautiful little, like, say little girl. She's like, I think he's like 17 or something like that. Like they're later in their teen years. And he's like, oh, someone was able to activate it. And he heals the kid, but he makes him promise that he has to take care of the girl. And that girl has a wild past. And I'm not going to spoil it for you because it is a big cliff turn. But it shows him getting stronger and stronger and trying to take back that power that was taken from him. And then once he reaches that goal, the whole spectrum of the world grows. There's different planets, different races, and it shows that with great power comes great responsibility. And as he gets stronger and stronger, the scope of his responsibilities gets bigger and bigger until he ends up having to protect all of the worlds, protect all of his universes. And it's a relaxing story. There are fight scenes, but they're brief. It's more of seeing how someone copes with all of that and how sometimes thinking is better than rash violence. Don't get me wrong, he loses his temper a few times, but he definitely thinks things through a lot more than some of these other main characters. There's also a manga for this, and it is ongoing. Um, it's probably about three-fourths of the way done, but the light novel is completed. So it's definitely worth the read. It is a little long at 1,300 chapters, but it is definitely worth your time to read. And like I said, with the other two, they all intersect, and it's fine. It's fun to find the little Easter eggs. You don't have to read them in order, and you'll still find them when you read the next one, and you'll circle back to it. It makes you want to reread it again, and it's a never-ending loop, and it's a riot to go through.
I didn't know there was a third one. I only read the
You know, yes, I will. I'll send you the link for this one too, for both the manhwa and the light novel. Definitely worth it. But with that, we'll go to your number one.
my number one has to be Cradle. It's by an author named Will White. This is also on Kindle. If you get unlimited, trust me, you can breeze through all 12 books that are out because it's a completed story. And I highly, highly encourage you to do that. And actually, it did just pass its had a Kickstarter for getting a little animation made for it, so it can hopefully get more. So there's something to look forward to if you want to get into it. But it's about a boy named Lyndon. And in this world, it's a normal, cultivation world. But when kids at the age of, I think it was like 8 or something, young kid age, they all go through a test to see what their path will be. You have ruler, enforcer, and striker. And everyone comes up to a little bowl where they get tested. And he's just hoping against hope that he can be something. It doesn't matter which one. And once he gets there, the little bowl doesn't react. Not at all. Not for when he was 8, not when he was 9, not when he was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It never reacts, and he's called a void. Someone who can never learn the true path or madra of this world. He has a little bit like a baby's. It's pure and white, not aspected towards what the rest of his clan has, which is the dream aspect, which is affecting mind and light, which can project the illusions that they're known for in this small little valley filled with other clans. And so every 7 or so years, there's a big tournament that happens. And Lyndon sees that this could be his last chance because whoever wins or places at this tournament gets picked up by the big academies of this little valley. And he's just thinks, if I could just learn to like learn the proper techniques, maybe he can make something of himself. He still has Madra. Just because it's pure and white doesn't mean it's bad. He could still activate certain, like, say, scripts, which is basically just enchanted runes of this world. He can still learn things. Maybe if he was just given a chance, he can do something. But the way he gets his chance is he does have to scheme a little bit during the ceremony of the big tournament because he is a big 15-year-old and this man is built. Everyone, he always hunches down, which is something that everyone comments on, but he is built big. I don't know what they're feeding him, but he's shooting up like a sprout. But because of his cultivation level, he's pitted against children. So even if everyone in the clan says, don't participate because you're a 15-year-old, go up against little kids, he still does it. Because if he can win, then he has a chance. But on this day, when he does get that chance, and this is all from the first book, it's nothing big spoilers, don't worry. Something happens. The world opens up, and from the skies comes down a great, just man with wings. He is so powerful that he dwarfs everyone there. And he just says, with a flick of a wrist, you die. 3 heads, and by heads I mean clan heads, people who are leaders, explode like that. I will be the new leader. And from there, he just asserts his dominance, pressing everyone down with his presence alone. That is until someone, our boy Lyndon, tries to come up behind him and strike him. Because maybe if he can just get one little hit in, he can just distract him for a second. He is split in half and dies in the first book. Until a savior from the same skies that just opened up heals him and shows him the true weight of this world. How small his valley truly is and how insignificant it is in the grand scheme. There is a great calamity that will come for his little valley. And if he doesn't leave it and try to save it, even with his disabled powers, he'll die like the rest. And so follow and cradle this journey of this beaten and broken boy who's been raised saying you're lesser than, you're nothing, finally puff out his chest and take control of his own destiny. Thanks in part to meeting that savior, but through his real own grit and determination. It's an honestly great story, and I cannot recommend it more highly. The reason I'm being so vague is because I really do not want to spoil any. If you like great action, a very authentic romance, and an amazing world building, give Cradle a Shot by Will White, and it's on Audible. Well, Audible, Kindle, all that good stuff.
Yeah. But with that, we'll go to my number one, and it's called Heavenly Jewel Change. There are 848 chapters. It is completed. It is a shorter one, but I do have to give the warning beforehand. There is essay in it. It is very graphic. There is a lot you have to digest with this series. There's a lot of tragedy and stuff in it. So if any of that stuff does trigger you, I definitely not meant for you. But if you are into more of the tragic scenes and stuff like that, and you like to see people grow from them, it's a great series to read. It's in another cultivating world, but this one has nothing to do with the last three that I mentioned. And people are born with these gems called the heavenly gems. And each of them have different colors, and each color has an element that it goes with and a power that goes with that element. And this boy, his dad is one of the strongest gym masters in the world, and he was born with none. And so at the very beginning, he's going out into the woods practicing his archery because he's a damn good archer. And he accidentally peeks on his fiance. She does not like him because he has no powers. So she goes up in flames, quite literally, because she has the red jewels. So she controls fire. Shoots a fireball at this dude and chars him. And he dies in the first chapter. But it just happens that a thunder happens and the world splits in the air and this demonic beast comes down dying. And that demonic beast sees this dying kid on the ground in charred and transfers his soul to this kid to try to survive. And by doing that, this kid, he awakens all of his jewels that he didn't have previously. But one of his jewels is a chaos jewel, which is only activated by tragedy. So that's where it gets a little graphic when he activates that jewel for the first time. Because usually most people kill their victim upon activating the jewel for the first time, but he doesn't. He regains control of himself and spares the person that he assaulted. And they kind of part ways for a little bit, and they each try to cope with the situation. But he tries to be the man and say, "Hey, I did you wrong. I didn't have control of it," because he didn't. He completely had no control over his body or mind. But I'm still going to take responsibility. You're now my woman. And she's like, no. And it shows them growing closer and closer. It's a very awkward romance because she's a triplet. And he keeps mistaking the other sisters for each other. And it's situations that get into her hilarious. One of the big things that I think Rune may like is there is a big tournament arc in it, very Yu Yu Hakusho type of tournament arc, and it is a riot towards like the mid of the series. So you do have to get through a little bit of the introduction of them gaining some strength, learning the world, learning the background. But the training arc and the tournament arc is a riot. It's so much fun. So
Interesting.
yeah, I definitely recommend it. There is a manga for it. It got cut. So there you can read the first couple chapters, and it's pretty detailed based off of the light novel. But it did get cut. So it is worth reading the light novel in itself. So let's see, we're about an hour in at this point.
Sorry for yapping.
It's fine. We all got to work on the timing and everything. I talked a little bit too much today too. I think we'll probably end it off that though. It's an hour in. If we're going to take another hour to do the other segment, so we can do that next week and try to time ourselves a little bit better. But so is there anything you want to end off with? Any closing statements? Anything you're looking forward to? You want to put out for the group for next week? Anything like that?
I'm just looking forward to talking more anime. Can't wait.
All right, then I will do my spiel. So as y'all have noticed, we did move our anime hour from Thursday to Tuesday. We are planning on continuing this going forward to be on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, 8 to 9. this week we did cover the light novels. We did want to cover more, but we will continue on to those subjects next Tuesday. So look forward to that. We will be talking about some of our anime recommendations. So if you have any that you want to put out towards us, go ahead and shoot a message in the chat somewhere, and we will try to get to those. And maybe we can pencil it in right in our list, things to watch. But on a side note to that, you can find me either at Shorty Mafia on Twitch. I stream Minecraft and Ark. I also do RPG tabletop games on our partner channel, Artificer Alley, where on Wednesdays, which tomorrow, we will be doing the Power Ranger segment. Same time. It will be 8 o'clock, 8 to 10. And it's a riot. We got Rune, Ben, me, everybody. We're gonna have a blast and do that. And then on Mondays on here, you can catch the Fallout 76 or Fallout RPG. So I think that's everything that I can think of for need closing statements. So I hope to catch y'all all next Tuesday and wish our new co-host Don a future success. So, y'all have a good night.
Thank you all. Have a good one.